Hello again, everyone. It's your favorite scruffy-looking scoundrel, the crazy Corellian Solo Straight, and I'm back again with another episode of Never Tell Me the Odds. What I want to do today is another fun video, follow-up video, if you will. A few months ago, I released my Galactic Legend Leia speculation video. Now, I want to do a follow-up to that today, and what we're going to be doing is giving you the dark side Galactic Legend that's going to rival Leia. These things always come in pairs, historically, so I want to make sure to go ahead and get that out there. But before we get into the video, I do want to ask that you take a moment to please pause, like, and or subscribe, okay, for future content. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw out the disclaimer that I've got to, right? I don't work for CG. I don't have a crystal ball. This is all speculation, like anybody else out there with their speculations and theories. So I'm going to ask that you fly casual. Don't go gearing up a bunch of characters saying, Solo said it was going to happen, and it didn't. So I want to make sure to get that out there. This is all just speculation, some things I put together. Now, let's jump on in. As we said, we're going to get a Galactic Legend Leia. I still firmly believe that. A lot of people out there kind of think we're going Old Republic or whatever, if we even get another GL or a GL announcement soon. However, I'm going with Leia, which leads me to the antagonist for Leia. The Dark Side Galactic Legend that we're going to get is again going to be original trilogy based. It's going to be Jabba the Hutt. That's right. I'm giving you the Jabba the Hutt speculation breakdown today. Now, let's go ahead and jump into some of this lore and get some of these things knocked out. First and foremost, with GLs, you're looking at a 15 character requirement. So the speculation is going to include 15 characters that I feel we're going to need for Jabba the Hutt. Now, as always, that's going to include some in-game characters, some marquees, and a ship. So let's go ahead and start the list with the first marquee. And I say that because it's such an important iconic character to Jabba the Hutt and not already in the game. So we're going to have to go with marquee first, and that is Bib Fortuna. We're going to be getting Bib Fortuna as a marquee character because that's Jabba's right-hand man. We see them from episode 1 all the way throughout the Boba Fett series as still being very loyal to the Hutt Syndicate and Jabba himself. So without Bib Fortuna, we don't have a Jabba. So that's a very obvious pick. Easily number 1, Bib Fortuna. And that's going to carry me to number 2, the second most loyal person we see in the Jabba lore, and that's Gamorrean Guard, okay? Gamorrean Guard, always going to be in the Hutt lore, so we're definitely going to have to take that character up. It's another scoundrel character. Very low gear in game, so I could see them definitely making sure you got to take Gamorrean Guard up. Maybe even like a Relic 7 Gamorrean Guard, but we'll see how that plays out. Now, if you continue in the timeline, there are 2 very iconic characters that just have to stay in the lore of Jabba the Hutt, and that's your favorite scoundrel duo, Han and Chewie. However, this game is very vast with having a lot of Hans and Chewies. Obviously, I'm a fan, right? Some of you may or may not be. And every Han and Chewie to date pretty much is needed for something except for a few. And that's going to be where we look at. We're going to be looking at the Solo storyline. When we end Solo, we see a young Han and a young Chewie, or Vandor Chewie, leave that plot as if they're going to go and get some notoriety as some smuggler, scoundrel type characters from getting jobs from Jabba the Hutt. So this is going to start that lore and that whole iconic antagonist situation between Jabba, Han, and Chewie moving forward. We now are going to flash forward to episode 4, where we first see Han, and we see him first taken on by Greedo. Greedo's been hired to come after Han from who? Jabba the Hutt, right? Now, doesn't work out so well for Greedo, and no, he did not shoot at me first. All right? But, I digress. Young Greedo, bad bounty hunter as he is also currently in the game right now, and collectively as a bounty hunter, he ain't needed for nothing else. So we're going to go ahead and say, you got to have him for Jabba, right? So that's going to put us in the Empire Strikes Back now lore, after the Greedo scene in New Hope. And that's the next time we get any kind of talk about Jabba the Hutt, because he has put a bounty on my head, right? So we see Vader on the Executor talking to 6 bounty hunters. Now in this scene, very iconic scene, we see 4 of those 6 are already in the game. and that's going to be Bossk, Boba Fett, IG-88, and Dengar, right? So, those 4, yes, they're already needed for the Executor, or their ships are needed, but I'm going to go ahead and throw out right now that we're going to need Bossk, right, obviously. We're going to need Dengar, okay, and we're going to need Boba Fett. If you don't have a Boba Fett of some kind in a Jabba Hutt speculation, you ain't doing it right, okay? So, yes, I know he's already relic geared for Executor, but you're still going to need him, okay? There are crossovers. We see that with other GL projects, so I have no problem in putting Boba here at this spot. And I've omitted IG-88. The reason I've omitted IG-88 is because in the lore, we do see IG-88 goes to Bespin to try and capture yours truly. He's not successful. He's stopped by Boba. We even see him in a junk pile, right? So, not going to put IG-88 in there. But what I will do is now include the next 2 marquees that we're going to need, and that's going to be Forlom and Zuckuss. That's right. If you look at the Executor in the background scene of these iconic 6 bounty hunters hired by Jabba to come get me, you see Forlom and Zuckuss. Nobody even knows who they are at the time, but they become iconic because when you look at how their pairing is matched, early on in the lore, you have Dengar and Bossk go to try and capture for Jabba Yavin Vesalik, and they don't succeed. But you know who does? Forlom and Zuckuss. So since they were so successful in that mission where the other 2 well-known bounty hunters failed, Jabba decides moving forward to hire them as a pairing, and they become best friends. They have, you know, adventures together. Very iconic and fan favorite, if you will, bounty hunter grouping. So definitely the next 2 marquees are going to be Forlom, Zuckuss. Got to have them for Jabba, okay? Now, this is going to be the meat, so to say, of some more iconic pairings and tie-ins for why I say Jabba is going to need these specific requirements. And that's going to be the War of Bounty Hunters lore comic that came out in 2021. Now, this is very recent to Star Wars lore. Some of you may or may not have heard it, may or may not have seen it, but it just recently come out. And I want to kind of premise that as of late in the game, CG has been doing very well with trying to grab characters from other mediums, right? We got some video game characters when it comes to the Star Killer requirements, or the Inquisitors with the Cal Kestis, you know, Jedi Fallen Order game. We also get, from Battlefront, we get an ID and Versio from a video game. So they're trying to branch out, I feel like, and grab characters from other metrics. We even see the Old Republic inception into the game with Darth Malgus being a Conquest character, and they invented Sortie. So they're reaching to other mediums, other kind of arcs, if you will, to try and put characters in. So I feel like if you're getting a GL Jabba, you're going to have to focus on the very recent, within the last, year, Jabba's kind of storyline with the War of the Bounty Hunters. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. So for those of you that don't know or haven't heard this tale, let me give like a short synopsis if I can. So basically, Boba Fett, after capturing me, put me in carbonite, right? He sees that the carbonite freezing is failing, and he's worried that he's not going to get paid because not going to make it to Jabba, right, alive. So he stops along the way when he sees carbonite freezing is failing on Nar Shaddaa, and he talks to Dark Raygon. Dark Raygon says, I got you. I'll keep the carbonite freezing from failing. Han won't die if you do something for me. Now, of course, this delays him going to Tatooine and delivering Jabba, so Jabba's like, what's going on? So, at that point, Jabba hires a new character, and a marquee we're going to be needing. He hires Deva Lompop, okay? Deva Lompop is a new character that's been created from the High Republic era, but we see her in War of the Bounty Hunters. And she's been hired by Jabba personally, although she's no longer a bounty hunter. He hires her because he knows she can get things done, right? After finding out about Boba having a pit stop with Solo, Deva Lompop then sells that information to Crimson Dawn. Now, Crimson Dawn takes that information, they go and they kill Dark Raygun, they steal Solo's body, and they decide to have an auction for Jabba's prize. And they even invite Jabba to the auction because they want to profit from this, right? So, at that point, Jabba then says, hey, Dengar, Bosk, Forlom, Zuckuss, every bounty hunter I got, I want you to go kill Boba, right? So that's the war of the bounty hunters that we see. And so everyone's now going after Boba. Jabba's on his way to some auction. Everyone's on their way. Now, information like that gets out, of course, so we see Chewie and Lando and, you know, the rebel crew that we know, they head there to Nar Shaddaa. They're going to try and, you know, get me back. In addition to that, Vader finds out about it, right? Because Vader's like, if Luke's going to Nar Shaddaa, I'm going to Nar Shaddaa because I want to capture Luke, right? So a lot of stuff kind of going on here between episode 5 and episode 6 for those of you that may not have heard of this series, right? Boba finds out Jabba's the one that's put the bounty on his head. And so he goes to Bib Fortuna to find out what's going on. Bib Fortuna's like, Jabba's already on his way to this auction, so there you go. Boba then has to go to where the auction is, right? Where Crimson Dawn is holding that auction to get rid of me. Now, for those of you that may have heard that term, Crimson Dawn, this is going to be where we jump in with another marquee character, and that's going to be the head of Crimson Dawn at this time, selling off her former lover, Qi'ra. That's right. Qi'ra is going to be needed for a Jabba requirement. Sorry, that's a little lengthy synopsis to get there, but we're going to have Qi'ra. The moment of truth, the moment you've all been waiting for. Now that we've given you some requirements, including some new marquees, here is the patented, so this is the Imbo moment. And that is the character that's already in the game that has a small, very small tie to the character in some way that you don't see coming, that you're going to have to put some resources into. And we're going to give it to you right now, SWGoH. Oh my goodness, how in the heck does SWGoH tie into Jabba the Hutt? Well, if you're a Clone Wars fan like I am, Clone Wars is a great series, you should check it out. Season 5, episode 14, we see Maul and SWGoH and Death Watch are going to try and challenge Jabba and Black Sun to form a coup known as the Shadow Collective. Now, this fails miserably, but we do get a great epic battle. I mean, it's one of the most epic battles in Star Wars lore of some underground syndicate crime boss people, including SWGoH. Even takes on Imbo, one of my favorite scenes, right? You got to see it. It fails miserably in the fact it doesn't succeed for what Maul and SWGoH want to do, but it succeeds greatly in giving us a requirement for GL Jabba, and that's SWGoH. So there you go. That's the Imbo moment. Now that moves us to the CG financial, let's make some money moment, right? And this is classic CG. This is what character are we going to need that's already in the game that nobody has geared up at all, nobody's worked on at all, to force in here as a requirement for GL, and I give you Mob Enforcer. That's right. If you look currently right now on SWGoH.com, you see Mob Enforcer is the lowest Gear 13 character in the game. Only 224 people have this character at Gear 13. That's a scoundrel that you're going to need for Jabba. And you might be wondering, how do I get Mob Enforcer speculation there? Well, here you go. So, for those of you who have watched episode 4, and you've seen the Jabba scene where he interacts with me personally, Mr. Solo. In the background, there is a scoundrel who is loyal to Jabba, who we don't know the name, but look at that scoundrel very specifically. What do you see? You see goggles, you see a green vest, you see a white shirt, blousey looking. That's Mob Enforcer, y'all. Now, it's a man in the movie, and it's a female in the game, but I strongly feel that's the Mob Enforcer we have in the game, right? So there's your tie. There's going to be the character that you got to gear up, that you ain't going to want to, that's totally useless in the game, because CG likes money, okay? So there you go. So that's going to be the 14th requirement that I've named in this video. Leads me to the last requirement. As always, AGL has got to have a ship requirement. That's right. So when you look in this game currently right now, there are lots of bounty hunter ships, minus one, okay? And that's Dengar's punishing one. So I believe that some conquest coming up in the future, we're going to be getting the punishing one. It's finally going to be added to the game for Dengar, right? And that's going to be the ship that they're going to require you to have for Galactic Legend Jabba. So that's going to be your last requirement, the ship requirement. That's just kind of where I'm at. Again, sorry for the long explanation there of the War of the Bounty Hunters plotline. But again, it is relatively new to Star Wars lore, so a lot of people might not have seen, heard, or followed up on that yet. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and as always, remember, this is all speculation. It's maybe not going to happen. It's just where I'm at, where I think the game's going, right? It's the antagonist you're going to finally get to GL Leia whenever they release her. So I do hope you appreciate the video. As always, leave me a comment down below if you think Solo's off his rocker. You overlooked this character. I don't agree with you. Here's what I think's going on. I'll be happy to give some feedback on your takes, and we'll welcome that. Also, moving forward, let me know if there's something you want to see on this channel. Give me some suggestions on, hey man, I need help with this, or what's your thoughts on that subject, and try and get a video out there for you. So as always, this has been Solo Straight on Never Tell Me the Odds. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.